Hey Emma,
Yes, Madelyn.
what do you call it when two woodland creatures betray you?
I think I know, but tell me anyway.
Double Animal Crossing!
Hello, and welcome to Talk This.
It's dangerous to podcast alone.
I'm one of your hosts, Emma.
And I'm your other hilarious host, Madelyn.
I don't think you had to say that there were two animals, just to be fair. That's the whole point. Double crossing is just one person, usually.
Right, but see, if I did that, then it would be an animal double crossing.
Oh, I see. Gotcha.
Which is not the title of the game.
Gotcha. I understand.
I thought about going for that, and I was like, that makes more sense. But
Semantics.
I don't think...
I get
it. It's like, is sense or the punchline more important?
And
I
you
decided
chose the punchline.
the punchline, just smack at the punchline. So, here we are.
Yep.
You've been double animal crossed.
Mm-hmm.
That's not the name of the game either.
So if you've never listened to an episode of our podcast, every 2 weeks we pick
Well, welcome. First of all, welcome.
Yeah.
We're so glad you're here.
We already said welcome.
But I'm double welcoming any new listeners we might have out there, because we're really especially glad for you. We're also especially glad for returning listeners.
We just like listeners.
Yes.
Every 2 weeks we pick two games, one old and one new, and we talk about them and talk about things related to them, and sometimes talk about things that aren't related to them.
Sometimes we really barely talk about the game at all.
Yes. And then at the very end, we take the two games and try to mash them together into a brand new game idea that will one day get us rich.
Emphasis on try.
I didn't say try.
We try to mash two games together.
Did I say try?
You did.
Are you sure? I'm going to fact check
We'll
this.
rewind the tape and we'll
fact check this
find
as
out.
I was editing.
Yeah. So this week, the games that we're going to be talking about are, as you hopefully intuited from my world-class joke, Animal Crossing and Horizon Zero Dawn.
Yes.
I wanted to make sure I got the order of that right.
It's like Horizon. I think there's a colon. Or maybe there's not.
That doesn't really help me make sense of it. I knew the first word was Horizon.
It might
that
be.
Was not the point
actually,
of confusion.
I don't know. Does it have a colon? This will bother me. I'm going to look it up. Keep talking.
So, I guess that we will jump right in to talking about Animal Crossing. So, it was only a couple of episodes ago that we talked about Stardew Valley, which is sort of definitely the spiritual... Well, Stardew Valley is closer to other games, but in many ways, it's the spiritual successor to Animal Crossing. Like, that game takes a lot from this genre, and so Animal Crossing lives in this genre with, like, currently Stardew Valley and Harvest Moon. I would even argue kind of like The Sims, of being these kind of lifestyle simulators. The Sims is sort of off in its own kind of weird corner of this genre.
Well, I would actually say that perhaps these games are in their weird corner of this genre, because they're all kind of... I guess Animal Crossing a little less, but they're all kind of like farming simulators.
Yeah, wow, doesn't that sound like such a great idea for a video game?
Yes, because there have been wildly successful franchises on the farming.
I know, but if you tried to explain to someone who had never, who was a video game real novice, oh yeah, some of the really big games that we love, they're farming simulators. Doesn't that sound fun?
Yeah. I'll just try to explain, Goat Simulator to somebody.
I don't really understand Goat Simulator.
I don't really either, so that's why I would try to explain it.
Should Goat Simulator be in the hat?
Probably. Probably should be.
Let us know, listeners. Should we put Goat Simulator in the hat? Be serious, though. No kidding us.
Ha!
Wow, 2 jokes for the price of 1 this week. Now, No, that's fair. You're right. It's sort of in, like, the wide genre of, like, simulation.
Mm-hmm.
And then in the mini but surprisingly lucrative genre of farming simulator. Although, Animal Crossing doesn't really feature, like, actual farming.
That's true. I guess it's more like small town simulator.
Yeah. Country life.
Yeah. And you do grow plants.
Do you?
Yeah, you garden. You have your garden. There's the garden
right.
competition every year.
You're right, you do. I'm sorry, I was wrong. I mostly think of it as being fishing and talking to your neighbors, that kind of, and, like, decorating your house. But you're right, there's a little bit of farming.
Is Animal Crossing actually, like, developed by Nintendo? Or published by Nintendo?
I don't actually know.
Well, it is published by Nintendo, obviously, but I don't know if there's, like, a different development company, because Nintendo also makes their own games. But I was gonna say, like, well, I guess I don't know if, like, but a lot of the DS games, like Animal Crossing and Nintendogs and that sort of thing, always, like, require you to come back regularly to them.
Mm-hmm.
Because otherwise, like, in Animal Crossing, if you don't come back regularly, your neighbors get all mad at you. And all
your town goes to heck.
Yeah, there are weeds all over the place. Because nobody does any work in this town except for you, apparently.
Which is honestly the most realistic part of the game. Like, maybe that's how I learned from a young age that nothing gets done unless I do it myself.
Yeah.
So thank you for that, Animal Crossing. I appreciate it.
Wow, another formative experience for us.
Video games seem to have been more formative, or perhaps I was drawn to Animal Crossing because it already, like, fed that part of myself that was already there.
Yeah.
It's hard to know. Correlation or causation?
It's like that one episodes of Gilmore Girls.
Where they were crying?
Formative, yeah. Very formative for us.
Oh my god.
Nothing will get done unless you do it, and if you fail at anything, you're a failure at life.
I thought I could handle it, and I'm
the
failing.
Life motto.
Wow, this has rapidly become sort of a therapy session.
We're sorry, listeners.
So, anyway, we've sort of talked around what Animal Crossing is about, but just in case you're a listener who's never played Animal Crossing, basically, we played it on the DS, but I think that there are Animal Crossings for the N64 and other Nintendo consoles.
I thought the very first one was on the DS.
Not the one that we played.
Are you sure? Well, that was New Leaf, right?
No, we played Wild World.
No, we played New Leaf.
Mm-mm.
Maybe you played Wild World and I had New Leaf.
Okay, maybe. Except that we would play together. So, you're wrong.
Yeah, first release... Okay, it was on the N64, you're right. But it came out in 2001, so it's not like...
I have become the video game master.
You're right.
Now Emma is the newbie player, and I am the master.
I was skewed by my bias of, like, the one I played first, because I thought it was, like, something new. But I guess, like, the game was new, not the... Or maybe, like, it was one of the first games we got on the DS when we got them.
So I didn't finish my summary.
Sorry.
I didn't even start my summary, so I'm going to jump back in. So, like, as is typical in these farming simulators, like, you, like, lived in the city, but you've decided now you're going to move to a new town in the country. Mm-hmm. And you get to, like, name your town and, like, pick the color of your little house. Mm-hmm. And you move into your house, and you've got, like, no money and, like, nothing, basically. But there's also all these other kind of houses over town. And basically your goal is to, like, get money so you can, like, make your house better and, like, buy stuff and make your neighbors happy. And also, like, you fish to sort of, like, see if you can fish all the fish and get all the fishes together. And you, like, clean up your town so people like the town and there's no weeds and it's clean. And also there's KK Slider, who's a singing dog who sings at the coffee house on, like, weeknights. And also, did I mention that all of your neighbors are, like, giant talking animals? That probably should have been the first thing that I mentioned.
And did you already say Tom Nook?
I forgot about Tom Nook. Yeah, Tom Nook runs the general store.
Stupid Tom Nook.
He's a raccoon?
I think so.
Yeah, of course. And he overcharges you for everything, because he's Tom Nook. That's what he does.
He's awful.
So that's your summary of the game, featuring some like shout-outs to characters that you have no context for if you haven't played the game. So you're welcome for that. Animal Crossing, the disappointing thing about Animal Crossing to me, and where I think that it falls short of Harvest Moon type games, is that you don't get to marry your animal neighbors.
That would be a little bit weird.
They're basically humans.
Okay. But they're not.
I know.
They're basically animals that walk on two legs.
Well, why can't I be an animal then?
That's true. But even then, that would be some weird cross-species things.
I guess so, but I feel like I remember the animals had, like, crushes on each other. Is that not a thing?
I don't remember. I mostly remember my neighbors hating me and moving away.
Yeah, they do. That is a thing. If you're too mean to your neighbors, or you don't take care of your town enough, your neighbors will move away and not come back.
Yeah. Although sometimes they just move away anyway, and then someone else moves in.
That's true. Sometimes it's through no fault of your own that they move away. But most of the time, it's because you got busy with school and didn't play for a couple weeks.
Yeah.
Also, your Nintendogs miss you. Have you thought about that, people? Sorry, this is only sort of relevant, but you brought up Nintendogs as, like, another Nintendo game that forces you to play every day.
Oh my
But when was the last time you played with your Nintendogs?
So many abandoned Nintendogs.
It's been years. They've peed everywhere. They're so hungry.
They've
forgotten
stinky.
all the tricks you taught them.
Poor Nintendogs.
For goodness sake, people, go take care of those freaking Nintendogs. They don't deserve it. And clean up the town that you said you were going to clean up. You said you're going to clean it up. It's a good neighbor thing. So, like, when's the last time you checked on your town? Huh?
Seriously.
Punks.
I think that's, but it is kind of difficult, I feel like, with those games. I mean, you really have to engage people to have, like, punishments for being away from the game, right? Because it feels like it discourages returning after a while, right? Because you'll come back and everybody will have hated you and moved away and that sort of stuff. Whereas I feel like other games actually sort of encourage you to take time away from it. Like, I think in, like, the pin system in The World Ends With You, which we've also talked about in this show, but, like, you gain experience for your pins, like, every day you're away from the game. Which is kind of a nice system of, like, taking it slow or whatever, but it's sort of the opposite with these games, of being, like, come back every day, or you'll miss something. Although I guess that is a way to keep them engaged. I just feel like if you ever lose them, because, like, they go on vacation for 2 weeks or something, and then they come back and they're like, everybody hates me, and there are weeds everywhere, that they're less inclined
to, like,
weed
everywhere.
Try to fix
you let your town go, and there's a weed epidemic. Your town's gone up in smoke.
Oh,
literally.
Man. Ooh.
Boom, burn. That's why Animal Crossing A New Leaf takes on a whole nother meaning.
Oh, yeah. Wow, Nintendo just wants your children to do marijuana.
Look, why do you think all the townspeople look like animals?
Oh, man. Because you're tripping.
Seriously. Picked up a bad mushroom on that last foraging trip, dude. Anyway, okay, so I had two thoughts about this, like, incentivizing your return, but sort of de-incentivizing your return after a break. So one, this sort of seems like the model that we now operate on with our sort of mobile games.
That's true, yeah.
Like, when's the last time you didn't check Avengers Academy for a whole day?
I actually didn't do it the whole time I was at camp, because I didn't have the energy. And it's not like, it doesn't feel like you're punished, like you've missed things, but it's not like all of your Avengers have died. You just haven't gained any coins in that time, you know? Like,
That's
there's
fair.
A little bit of a difference, but I get where you're coming from.
But I had another thought, which was basically like, so what's really the incentive to keep playing Animal Crossing, like, anyway? Like, if I've abandoned it for 2 weeks, why not just start a new game?
Because you've developed relationships with these people, and you've been building your house up to better degrees. And you have cool furniture and cool clothing, and you caught all the bugs, and you caught all the fish.
I forgot the bug catching. You're right.
Yeah, and you have a cool garden, although it's probably died if you left it for 2 weeks. You know? So it's like you build up your status over time, but if you leave it for too long, suddenly you're like down more. But you don't want to start all the way from the beginning again, because that's when Tom Nook was taking advantage of you. And not when you were richer than him and all of his family.
That's true. But then again, it's like, okay, so fine, but like, what is the real negative? Like, okay, if all your neighbors have already moved away, well, you still have all your money and whatever. Like, it's basically like starting a new game plus. Like, you have whole new neighbors, except that you have a ton of money and your house is already like, hey, MTV, like, welcome to my crib, you know?
I guess so.
I mean, I understand the loss of momentum, but it's basically just an opportunity to be like, hey, like, you left your game alone for a month? Like, basically you're starting over, except that, like, you get a huge boost of stuff.
I guess so.
Speaking, though, of de-incentivizing, I want to talk about my least favorite part of Animal Crossing. So sometimes you're playing Animal Crossing and you do something stupid and you piss off one of your neighbors, or, like, you messed up some kind of festival, or you bought something you didn't mean to, and you're like, oh, I'm an idiot, like, oh, I know, I'm just gonna turn off the game and start over at my last save. Like, I do this all the time in games, because I'm a cheater, right? Like, I like to cheat, because I don't want to do something dumb and mess it up and have to pay the consequences, because I'm a spoiled millennial.
That's not cheating, but whatever.
What?
That's not cheating, but whatever.
Well, it's like giving myself a redo. It's like, oh, unlimited mulligans. Like, that's kind of cheating.
Okay, sure. Whatever. Continue.
But, and in most games, that's fine. They let you do it, nothing happens. And Animal Crossing does let you do it, except that you get a very scary, scary lecture from Rossetti, who Emma has told me I think is a gopher? Who Emma has told me I think is a gopher?
I think so.
Well, he comes up and he yells at you for resetting the game without saving.
Yeah.
It's scary.
I don't really remember it.
Oh my
Remember
god.
There's a gopher.
This made such an impression on me. I don't like to be lectured by authority figures, even in video games.
Yeah. I guess I just didn't do it that much. Maybe.
Great. So what we're saying is, oh, I guess I didn't do it that much, aka, Madelyn, you're bad at video games and you're a cheater.
It's not cheating to reload a save.
Is it? Is it not cheating?
No.
What is it then?
It's that's the whole point of having multiple saves in video games. That's the whole why they give you, like, 99 save slots. It's so that you can go back to different points in the game and do them differently. Like,
I always thought having 99 save slots was so you could play the game 99 times.
no. It's just like, what, like, it gives you the feature, you can have different saves, so, like, why doesn't it? I get so frustrated at people who are like, you're scamming the game when you use things that the game gives you, you know? Like, they're like, like, in Persona 5, people sometimes give other people, like, crap because they, like, get these really good confidant abilities early, like in Let's Plays, and then they use them, you know? Or like I'm watching one right now, and like there are like little mini bosses in Mementos where it's like you can confuse some of them, and when they confuse them they drop a whole bunch of money, and the game lets you do that. You're not like going into the code and like changing it so that you can do that. It just lets you do it, and it lets you have multiple saves. So, like, that's not cheating. That's just giving you what the games can use.
So let me ask one step further from that. So, I mean, quote-unquote cheat codes are technically written into the game.
Of Animal Crossing?
I'm sorry. I'm not talking about games in general.
Okay.
You know me.
I
I
think
can't
cheat
talk.
codes have been less and less of a thing in recent years.
That's true because we've sort of moved away from games that are that hard, or games that make you start over at the very beginning when you lose.
Mm-hmm.
So cheat codes become sort of less and less necessary, right? Like, we need cheat codes for the old Mega Man games because they're impossible, and if you lose, you start over at the beginning.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas now it's like, well, if you die as Nathan Drake, you just respawn and try it again.
Yeah. I would say that cheat codes are cheating, but I think that's, if it's just yourself, that doesn't really matter either, right? You're not, like, cheating to beat somebody who's trying to play the game fairly. You're cheating so that you can do something, or because you want to play The Sims and have unlimited money, or whatever.
Rosebud?
Yeah.
Semicolon.
So, like, that's fine,
Wow, that
too.
was, like, freebie out there for Sims players who are dumb and don't know that cheat. So,
Yeah.
You're welcome.
And I mean, also, a lot of times, again, developers give you cheat codes. So, like, you're just using what the game provides you. So, what's wrong with that?
Okay, this is a fabulous segue into something I wanted to talk about Horizon Zero Dawn.
Okay.
So I'm gonna jump on it. I don't know where we at on time, but I'm jumping on it.
Okay.
So just very recently, like just a couple days ago, but probably about a week ago once this episode comes out, the Horizon Zero Dawn people released what they called, like, story mode for their game.
Mm-hmm.
Which, like, oh, we all know what story mode is, right? Well, sort of wrong in this case. So they'd previously released a patch where you could play the game on, like, ultra hard difficulty, which is, like, a pretty normal thing to do for games, to be like, okay, fine, like, have a bonus difficulty level, like, you gaming freaks, right?
Yeah.
But they just released one where it's an easier difficulty level, right? Like, so you can fight and be easier about it, but expressly for the purpose, not of just being like, oh, it's easier, because, like, we should have an easier one, but expressly for the purpose of, like, people who are more interested in the story of the game and the exploration than the combat, which I thought was fascinating, and I wanted your thoughts.
I mean, it is interesting, but I feel like a lot of games describe their easy mode as people who are just there, who are more inclined to just experience the story. Like, so it's not like a revolutionary concept to have an easy mode that's supposed to do that.
I just feel like I had never seen it promoted that way before, and maybe that's because, despite my crowing earlier in the episode, I'm the casual gamer.
And I have not played a lot of Horizon Zero Dawn, but to me it seemed like a lot of the draw was which actually is why I didn't play a lot of it, because it felt like a lot of the draw was, like, taking down these robot dinosaurs in, like, interesting ways, which I was really, really bad at. But, like, the thing is, it doesn't even, like, really, like, you have one scene where you're, like, the younger version of her, and one scene where it sort of teaches you the controls, and then you're just, like, let loose. Like, it doesn't really, like, some of the open world games that I've played.
Real quick, can I cut in and ask you to do a quick summary of the game?
Sure. I think it's a future, like a post-apocalyptic type future, or just like a reimagining of the future or something. And you play as a girl named Aloy, and they're sort of like, it's the post-apocalypse, so imagine that, like, they've retreated to sort of like primitive with the quotation marks or whatever, ways of life and dressing, so they're like nomadic looking people. And when she's young, she falls in a hole because she's an outcast from the society. I don't really remember why, but she's an outcast. and some kids were bullying her and like threw rocks at her head, and she falls down a hole. It turns out to be sort of like a ruin of the old civilization, which is like our civilization, or like more future than our civilization, I think. And she finds this thing that she can wear on her head that like lets her sort of analyze and sets things around her, like technological things, which is helpful because the main enemies in the world are these weird techno robots. And then you flash forward really far in time, and she is going to embark upon like the trials, or it's called something like that, in order, and if she wins them, she can request to be let back into the tribe, because like the winner gets like one request or something. So that's the basic premise.
And it's like this big open world game, yes, basically.
And I have so much trouble with open world, I think because I'm easily distractible. So it's like, I played this, like, I got to this open world part, and then I played for 2 hours without advancing the story at all. And I didn't really feel like I was having fun. I just felt like I just had a monumentally growing list of tasks to do.
Not too different from Animal Crossing, really, is it?
Yeah, it's like I appreciate a little bit when I was playing Final Fantasy 15, they sort of keep you on a track until about chapter 3 to sort of get you used to the characters and the world and what's actually happening and what they're actually supposed to be doing, and then they let you loose. Right? Whereas this one, it's just like, well, here's some, like, contained levels, and now do whatever you want.
Well, Guerrilla Games, which is the company that developed this, is, like, apparently really big on, like, trial and error in their game, of, like, minimal tutorial and just go out there and figure it out.
Yeah. And I can see how that would be really appealing to some people, but I like just to be eased into it a little bit more, I guess. Like, I wish they had, like, made me go through the trials and then opened up the world, or something like that, because I just got really distracted, and then I got really lost, and I was really bad at taking down the robots, just to begin with, so.
Maybe this is a topic for a future, head-to-head battle side quest, as our new side quest format is, which, by the way, if you haven't checked out our latest debate, our first debate on downloadable content, you should, and tell Emma that she's actually the loser. How are we even still talking to each other after that raging debate?
Wow.
But it's like creating an open world game, this is me just like saying words, so like tell me if I'm being stupid, but is it kind of a little bit of a cop-out? Sometimes I feel like open world is becoming more and more and more popular, but it seems like an easy way to squeeze a lot more playtime out of a game without really having to do that much more sort of work. Not that I'm saying it doesn't take a lot of work to develop an open world, but like storytelling work.
I think it depends on the open world. Like, I would say that something like The Witcher, which are open world games, has more to do with like the world building and seeing how the people live in this society and understanding the society and creating connections to different people than it necessarily does with like a main plot. And so I think in that way, actually, the fact that it's open world opens up a lot of storytelling potential, because there's so many mini side stories and so many characters to create. But I think that speaks a lot to Project CD Red. I can't remember what order that goes in. It's just like devotion to that game in those games. And I think that other open worlds also do that. It's like putting this character into a bunch of different little stories, and seeing how that goes. So in that way, sort of an open world can be a vignette of some sort. But I would say, even though I really did like what I played of Final Fantasy 15, did that need to be an open world game. Maybe not, but I feel like because they did so little work on the actual main story, that the open world was kind of what saved it also. So it's sort of a complicated thing, but it can be a way to tell like a bunch of little short stories all centering in a single world with a single character intervening. And then sometimes open worlds can just be a bunch of busy work that is stupid.
So what you're describing as sort of a successful open world game, honestly to me sounds like, oh, we've literally taken like sort of, these farming simulators, and we've like made them huge.
Yeah.
Because those games are all about, I'm just tying it back because we were talking about that earlier and it's making me think of connections I never would have thought of. But it's like, in those games, it's like, okay, so you have like 7 or 8 neighbors and like you try to connect with them and you do tasks for them. And in Animal Crossing, it's pretty rudimentary, but now we're looking at games, and Harvest Moon, it like steps up from that, and now like, you know, Stardew Valley, I feel like has taken another step forward in like sort of deepening the connections that you have with these neighbors.
Mm-hmm.
But there's like no real narrative to it, right? Like it's still more about like, oh, you're working on your farm. And then with these like open world games like The Witcher, as you're describing it, it's like we sort of take it up one step further of having like mini stories that are compelling, but that do sort of have to happen in a certain, like you don't talk to people and they say the same thing over and over and over again.
Yeah.
That's interesting.
Yeah, but the Witcher is in the hat right now, and I'm actually pretty excited to talk about it. Just because I think that, like, it'll be really interesting to talk about. I think, because CD Projekt Red is like a really neat, trying to really push things developer, so it'll be fun. But I found Horizon Zero Dawn to be like, I just needed a little bit more guidance. So maybe like having story mode would make it better for me. But it's not like the combat was like detrimentally difficult. I just felt like I was being pulled in too many different directions, and getting distracted from crossing anything off my list by getting like 5 more things on my list.
I do think in a lot of ways that open world format it's a little bit lazy. I keep saying these things, and I don't mean that it's like it doesn't take a lot of work to build this game. Like, of course this game is huge and hard to build. I just mean, like, from a storytelling perspective, it's you sort of refusing to commit yourself to saying, no, you really should do it in this order, and this is the best way to do the game.
But you could also say that the open world is a story that could only be told in video games because it is your story more than like any video game. You have your own narrative about it because you experienced different things doing it and you did different things during it. But open world takes that like to the furthest extreme you can, basically, of being like, this is literally like you doing stuff, and your experience playing this game might be entirely different, or at least significantly different from another person who played this game.
That's true. And I agree about that when we're talking about something like World of Warcraft or, I don't know, any of the, like, RuneScape or any of those kind of online games where it really is, like, you know, you've got a guild and you fight people and it's like there's really no story other than the story you create.
Mm-hmm.
But I think that we get into interesting territory when we're talking games like, I always want to say Horizon Zero Dark 30, but it's not that.
That would be a very different game. Hey, they both got red hair. Did Jessica Chastain have red hair in that movie?
I didn't see it. I don't know.
It doesn't matter.
What is it? Horizon Zero Dawn. Which, like, Dawn and Dark 30 are probably pretty similar times, but whatever.
Isn't it dark 30, 12:30 in the morning?
I don't know. Do I look like I'm in the military? I don't freaking know. I can't even shoot a gun in a video game. I keep thinking of things I want to talk about this game, but whatever. But with games like Horizon Zero Dawn, this is so hard for me. We do have a story that you do eventually have to complete. So we call these games open world, but they're open except that we do have sort of a fenced-in path that you should probably walk down eventually.
Yeah.
Right?
Sure.
So I just think it's interesting to say, like, yeah, your experience is going to be totally different with someone else. Your narrative is going to be different, except that we are going to force you to eventually conform to our narrative. I don't know. And when we get into that scenario, it always makes me question, it's like, would this game have been better if you had just committed to a narrative structure?
I think that it can be difficult. The more of a central narrative you try to impose upon it, I think it becomes more difficult. Because ideally, side quests give you something, right? Gives the character something. It's not just like, go find me some plants and then come back. And so I think...
What's the one in Kingdom Hearts 2? What do you have to do with Roxas?
Get a job. Juggle this ball for the children, Roxas. Deliver the mail to the pigeon in the sky, Roxas. Oh my god. But no, I think you have to find the... They've stolen the word. Stupid. Whatever. I was silent there on purpose. But I think that maybe to balance that, you do have to, like, slowly open up your open world by making side quests available at certain parts of the story. And I don't think a lot of open worlds do that, necessarily, but it does make more sense that way. Of like, because otherwise your character could learn something in a side quest and then you go to the next thing in the main narrative and it's like, what? But you just, you know?
Mm-hmm.
So it is difficult, but I think there are ways that you can manage it. But then you look at something like Legend of Zelda, the new one, Breath of the Wild, and there really isn't a... Like, the one main narrative thing is go fight Calamity what's his name? Ganon?
Yeah.
Go fight Calamity Ganon. And you can literally do it the minute you get control. You can just go on and fight him. And you will die, but you can do that. Like, that's the one main narrative. And then the rest of it is literally just, like, you going around meeting different people, doing things. So, like, it's open world because there's no chance for, like... And also because Link is such, like, a blank slate in a lot of ways, you know? Like, so I feel like that is kind of... And I haven't played it, so I can't, like, say I agree or disagree with people, like, saying, oh, this is the greatest video game ever created ever. Although I'd say I probably disagree, but that's probably also good. That's probably the best way to try to marry any sort of narrative with an open world.
Yeah, I absolutely agree. I think that you have to have a narrative. Well, I don't think you have to, but I think that in theory, the most successful open world game would be one where, yeah, you can go fight Ganon right away if you want. And if that's the narrative you want, you can do it. Like, you're probably going to die, you don't have very much stuff, but if you're a speedrunner and you think you can do it, like, go for it.
Speedrunners are crazy.
Yeah, they are.
Also, people who do level 1 playthroughs, like, why? Whatever.
Just to prove they can.
Why would you do this to yourself? But that's off topic. But yeah, it is also important to note that Horizon Zero Dawn is sort of one of the PlayStation 4's hopes for the future, because it's like their new exclusive thing since...
Well, it's their second best-selling game of all time.
Yeah. So, it's good. But they, like, Uncharted has ended, with at least Naughty Dog says they're not going to make another Uncharted game. now that Lost Legacy came out last week. So they're trying to find new exclusives to keep them ahead, which seems to have worked out for them. So,
well, did you know, though, and this is getting into something else that I was very excited to talk about this game, that Sony was at first very reluctant to have a female protagonist.
I guess so, yeah.
They had to have focus groups and everything to make sure it was okay.
Hey, they at least they did it, you know? If they needed to do focus groups, if they needed to assure themselves that this would be commercially viable, because there is that stereotype that it won't be, you know, great. But they did it. And it's kind of hard to get upset about that, because there's been so many things that came out on just the PlayStation 4 or just PS4 and PC this year that have had female protagonists. In that regard, they're pretty far ahead of Xbox, it seems, at the moment.
But shouldn't the success of this game, I mean, it's way behind Uncharted 4. Like, let's not kid ourselves. Like, there's like a 5 million sale gap still. But, like, shouldn't a game that is the second best selling game on the PS4 of all time spawn tons of copycat games with female protagonists? Shouldn't the market just be saturated with female action games because of how successful this game was?
Sure. I think that it's growing, though. I honestly think that it is. Because you've had this. Nier Automata had 2 playable female protagonists. Never mind that they're robots or whatever. There's so many more. Tomb Raider, the reboot of Tomb Raider has been pretty successful. Those ones did come out first on Xbox, so good for them. I've been playing Hellblade from Ninja Theory, which is a AA game, I think is what they're calling it, or an indie AAA, which has been very good as a female action hero. The Last of Us 2 will have Ellie as the main protagonist, the playable character, as opposed to Joel. So, I mean, there's a lot of expansion here, just like in the past couple of years.
I know, but I'm so excited about it. I want there to be more.
It's really exciting. Now, I just want Kingdom Hearts 3 to give me a female playable character.
Well, that probably won't happen, but...
What? It might. Let me play as Aqua.
Yeah, okay, we'll see.
Sorry, I got Kingdom Hearts on the mind.
It's all Emma thinks about at any given time.
It's true.
By the way, do you know what the third best-selling PlayStation 4 game is? I thought this was so funny.
What?
FIFA 2017.
That's not that funny. I'm surprised it's not the first best-selling.
It's really popular in Germany, apparently.
No, sports games are always successful. That's why they make one a year.
I know, but I just found it surprising that it was like the third best-selling game of all time when there's a FIFA 2016 and a FIFA 2015, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, they really only have a shelf life of a year.
Yeah, that is true. You're right. But we should probably mash this stuff up, baby.
Oh, I have so much to talk about, but yeah, we should mash. Okay. So, we have 2... Can I call Animal Crossing an open world game?
No, you can't.
Why not?
Because it's set in one place.
Yeah, but it's a very, very, very small open world. It's not a big open world, it's just a very small one.
That's not really how it works.
It has no story.
That's not really how it works.
Fight me.
It's not an open world.
Okay, this is our next side quest.
No. That would be a stupid debate.
Is Animal Crossing an open world? Opening statement,
no.
Go.
No, it's not. No. Nope. No. It's just
How
wrong.
How big would it have to be for it to become an open world? How many neighbors do I have to have?
Would have to have, like, a lot more towns that you could travel to.
You can travel to everybody's town if you use the DS thing.
Yes, but that's not the same thing.
Speaking of which, did you know, like, occasionally people accidentally let people, like, evil people into their towns, and, like, these horrible people will go and just, like, wreak havoc on a poor, trusting person's town and then leave?
Wow, that's so mean.
Isn't that horrible?
Yes.
See, it's an open world. You can be good or evil.
Yay.
Wow.
Nope.
Damning
Also,
the fate praise.
That's also not a requirement of open world that there be a morality system.
Okay, fine. I'm just gonna go. Why don't you mash up the games?
In fact, I think that a lot of times, I don't think there's really been a good morality system in many games. But that's for another time and another game. But yeah, let's.
What about Dungeons and Dragons?
That's a what?
It's not a video game, but it is an open world that isn't a video game. And you said that video games were the only open worlds, so.
But it's a
wrong.
Game. I meant
you were
games
wrong.
In general.
Dungeons and Dragon is a game. You were wrong.
I just said games. I meant games.
You were wrong.
Okay, whatever.
Just say you were wrong.
Okay.
I lost the debate last week. Tell me you're wrong so I can win this.
Animal Crossing. So like, you're an outcast, because you're
a human.
You look like a human. Yeah, that's what I was gonna say. And everybody else looks like a little animal thing. And you live in this calm, peaceful village that's occasionally attacked by robo-dinosaurs.
As villages frequently
you have to win your way back into the villagers' hearts by defeating these robo-dinosaurs and also by being a great weed puller and bug catcher.
You need to make this more smooth than that.
No, that's a great game.
Why would anyone spend any time doing the bug catching stuff?
Because the robo-dinosaurs don't come through all the time. It's not an open world. It's just set in the little village parameters with like some mountains around that you live in.
Okay, that's fair. How about instead though, Tom Nook is transformed into like a robo raccoon.
And then you murder him. Yes. I'm on board. Down with Tom Nook.
The memes are going to be on point on the Instagram this week.
What?
The memes on the Instagram this week are going to be strong.
Yeah, there you
go. Man, why is whatever, I'm like starting new topics, but why is the like shopping thing in all of the farming simulators like evil?
I don't know. Is the shop manager in Stardew Valley evil?
Well, you don't want to shop at JoJo Mart, right?
Oh, okay. True. I bet Tom Nook founded JoJo Mart.
Whoa, crossover.
What an evil, horrible man.
He's not a man.
Raccoon.
Don't defame men.
Raccoon man.
I have so many other things I want to talk about, Emma. Why do we love farming simulators so much? What is it about the simplicity of rural life that draws us to the farm on our computers?
Didn't we kind of talk about that in our Stardew Valley episode?
I don't remember.
Probably.
Okay, we need a better game. Your game isn't good enough.
My game is awesome, but you try it.
Okay. So, you're a lady. That's the important part. You didn't mention that. You're a lady. You have to play as a lady. And you're moving to a new town because you were cast out from your last town because you brought robo-dinosaurs into the town by mistake. You thought you could have one as a pet, but you couldn't, and they overran your town. So you've moved somewhere where no one knows your name. They also happen to all look like animals. And you've moved here. But it turns out you were the robo-dinosaur all along. And you destroyed the town.
Wow, okay.
No,
That's like Craft with Prey, too.
I got it. Okay, so like you were talking about how this is like a post-apocalyptic kind of thing, like a new primitive society. So I'm making the prequel to Horizon Zero Dawn, where you play as the robo dinosaurs and you slowly infiltrate small towns like Animal Crossing, where you impress people with your bug catching skills.
As a robo dinosaur, it's really good at catching bugs.
They just think you're a normal dinosaur and you fit in, right? Because everyone is like animals. They just think you're a normal dinosaur, and slowly you like convince them to become robo animals too, and eventually you mass a giant army and you take over the world.
Neat.
What the heck? That's a great game.
I don't know what to say to that. I just don't know what to say.
We call it Robo Dino Crossing, Invasion.
How about a game where there's this epidemic where the animal people are being turned into robo people?
That's exactly what I just
when they're
described.
Upset. And so you have to keep them happy and keep them on their good side, and do little tasks for them all over the world so that you stop the spread of the robo disease.
That would make Animal Crossing much more high stakes.
Mm-hmm.
I like that. But you're a woman.
Yes.
I'm trying to stand up for diversity here.
You're a girl, but you have red hair. I feel like that's like a requirement.
Alternate game idea.
Are you a good female character in a video game? You've got red hair.
Alternate idea. Animal Crossing, but you play as Tom Nook.
No.
Alternate idea.
Wow.
Rossetti escapes from his, like, gopher world of where he only comes out when games are reset, and he starts resetting games on people's behalf.
Rude.
And he turns into a robot.
Wow, that was great. Good
Thanks.
job.
Thank you. No, you had a couple good ideas, and I had a couple of great ideas, so at least one of those will work.
Hey, Nintendo. Gorilla, is how you say that one?
Yeah.
Games. Call us up. I'm sorry I didn't like Horizon Zero Dawn that much.
P.S.
But we gotta
How's
wait
your
and make it
Nintendog
better,
doing?
baby. There you go.
Honestly, there should be a game about all of the abandoned Nintendogs.
That would just be sad. And
No, they rise up and they become, like, scrappy.
I would rather
mutated.
that did not occur.
No, they've, like, mutated into tough, scrappy dogs who live on the street, and now they're out for revenge.
There you go.
They are the ones, that's what happens to them. They move to your Animal Crossing towns, and they're like the grumpy koalas.
Okay. Sounds good.
I figured it out. I figured out a happy ending. We better pick new games before I come up with more things to talk about.
Yeah. So I still haven't made the hats. And also the lists only have 19 right now because I haven't put new games in yet.
So
but that's
basically,
okay. That just means we'll get some of the older ones gone. So I have the list up right now if you just want to do the numbers, Melon.
Oh, I had just pulled it up, but I will close it and do the numbers. I don't even know which one I'm picking from, so whatever. 8.
Okay, I'm doing old first. 1, 2, 3. Wii Sports.
Oh, nice. Oh, man, this is going to be miserable for whatever we have to combine it with, but whatever. And number 1. No one's ever going to pick number 1.
The Last Guardian.
Oh, boy.
Oh, man. Wow. This will be something.
It will be. There will be an episode.
And eventually we'll have actual hats again, I promise.
Someday.
Let me get to college first.
Yeah. Soon it'll be a different kind of long. We've tried like all sorts of different long distance configurations for this.
Mm-hmm.
I wonder if you can hear the difference.
Probably. There will probably be more traffic noises in the background once I'm in Boston.
Whoa.
Yes, it's true. So look forward to that one.
It's gonna be legendary. And look forward to whatever we end up debating about for next week's side quest.
Yeah.
Also, drop us a line. Do you like this new head-to-head side quest format? We were getting a little bored with the busy work side quests that we had been doing, right? Mm-hmm. Those 1 minute, like, little tasks that we set for ourselves. And so instead we wanted to do some, like, multiplayer side quest action. Right? Because it's actually head-to-head. We interact with each other.
Yeah.
So we wanted to test that out, but what do you think? Do you miss the old side quests? Do you like the new side quests? Do you have new quests upon which you would like us to embark? Drop us a line. Maybe review it on iTunes and tell us what you thought, unless you hated it, in which case, maybe don't do that.
This is an open world podcast, though.
It is. It is. Yeah. Well, seriously, because there's no way you can fence in what I say.
Follow us on all of our social media. It's all at Talk This Podcast on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. Our website is talkthispodcast.com.
Should we
You
get
can
a
also
Snapchat?
find us our contacts info. There's a contact form on the site, or you can email us at talkthispodcast.com.
Well, she said that. I decided we should not get a Snapchat. Emma's been doing some really great content about Kingdom Hearts lately. As you might be able to tell from her sort of like letting it occasionally bleed into our discussion here.
Yes, I might actually have the first video by the end of next week.
So, in the lead up to the new game coming out, if you're having Kingdom Hearts fever, you should check out Emma's stuff, because it's funny. I laugh at it anyway. I just thought about the video
We'll be
of Sora.
making a YouTube channel, too, I guess, also pretty soon, which will probably also be Talk This Podcast. But there'll probably be links to it on all of our social media once it's up.
I just thought of the video of Sora falling off.
It was so sudden. I was mashing the X button, which is why the oh man, now the score is 2-1. It goes by so fast because it just like drops you out of it, and then you lost because you fell off.
If you don't know what we're talking about, go
also,
check it out.
In another fight,
funny.
I kept climbing on a tree, and I couldn't stop it. Kept running into the tree.
This has been another episode of Madelyn and Emma are bad at video games and don't know how to stay on topic.
Okay.
Also known as Talk This. It's dangerous to podcast alone.
And Madeline, any last words for the listeners?
Goodbye. No, I'm sorry. That was too harsh. Have just a lovely, beautiful, female protagonist-filled day.